Welcome back to Tampa Bay Today at Money Talk 1010 a.m. I am Schreiner along with our executive producer, Pat George. You can also listen to us on the FM dial at 103.1 FM in Pinellas County, in Hillsborough County, 92.1 FM. If you have an HD radio at 99.5 HD2, we're streaming live at MoneyTalk1010.com and on the app, which is free in your app store of choice. Just go look for Money Talk 1010. So we're pretty much everywhere. Jay Mulligan, our general sales manager for Beasley Media Group, is back in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fantastic. But I'm not the one that has the information. I mean, I'm good on the programming side. You want to know music. You want to know, topics of the day. You want to know how to get shows on the air. I'm your guy. But you're the one that helps some of our primary customers. In addition to our listeners, we also have those that advertise with us, and we're here to help them have success in their business. The more they grow, the more we grow, so it's vitally important to us. And right now, everybody's talking recession. So you wanted to talk about the recession, why marketing is still important, and then how to adjust it, the do's and don'ts, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
So where do you want to start? I mean, where do you start when somebody comes in going, I need to get my brand out there, but if we're in a recession, I'm worried about spending the money. Is that a big question that they have?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, right now, those questions aren't coming around a lot. But, when we started this segment, we said we were going to tackle topics of the week that are coming up.
Right.
And this week, we received an email from a client that said, with the impending recession coming, we are going to reduce our budgets and be proactive.
Okay.
And sometimes you start seeing that trickle in. And when people start talking about it more on the news, and some brands start cutting back, others start to try and do the same thing. And we know that over the years, so this information goes back like centuries.
Right.
From the Great Depression, really, it's over a century now. Like when you start looking back at the Great Depression and accounts that decided to double down then versus ones that cut back, and to see how they prospered.
Yeah, what immediately comes to mind, and they have shown time and time again in difficult times when money might be tight, they push forward, and that would be Coca-Cola is one of them, one of the big ones that goes forward, and you never see them stop marketing.
No, you never see them stop marketing. Back then the big one was Kellogg's and Post, right?
Oh, right, yeah, they were.
So it was the cereal brands that were going head to head, and Post in like the early 20s was the big company, right? They were the number one, and they cut back when things started going bad. And Kellogg's put the pedal to the metal at that point and doubled down on their advertising, and their sales increased by 30% during a time when everybody was losing everything, right? But they actually went up by 30% because they doubled down on their advertising and overtook Post for that number one spot. So, there's stories like that throughout all the different downturns and recessions throughout the last 100 years.
So what were your answer to this person that wrote that they were going to consider reducing their marketing at this time? How did you respond? How did we respond?
Yeah, so it's one of our account executives that's handling that account. Mm-hmm. But with anybody that is thinking to cut back on their marketing, we kind of share some of these stories. One of the things that you want to do is you definitely, if you're in a position to not cut back and you're fundamentally sound, you want to at least maintain your marketing strategy, okay? So you want to protect your brand. You want to protect your share of voice in the marketplace. And you do that by not cutting back on your marketing budget. Sometimes, if it's vital, you might have to in some cases, but if at all possible, you want to keep it intact.
Okay.
So, another good example of this was in the 70s. So Honda was the top imported brand into the United States. I think it was like 76 around then when that recession happened. Well, Toyota decided to kind of press forward with their advertising.
Right.
I think it was the Corolla at that time. And they actually became the top imported brand in the United States back in the 70s, around 76. They overtook Honda because Honda stepped back and Toyota pressed forward. So it was another example of a real big success story.
So it seems like if you're in a situation where you have a chief competitor, if you have one of those, and you see them start to adjust their marketing negatively, it's a time for you to step in and gather their market share. Is that a good way to put it?
It's a great way to put it. I mean, it's an opportunity for anybody that wants to gain a share of voice, more market share,
Right.
to kind of come out of the recession in a more positive light. Now, listen, I hope that we don't go into a recession, or I don't. Some people say we might already be there. I don't know that that's true or not.
Right.
And I hope that it's not the case. I know.
If I can interject, people should keep in mind that mainstream media will hammer these stories because they are attention-getting. They want your eyes, your ears on what they're doing and saying because they're marketing to you so they can do their advertising as well. So that's why we, the whole concept of if it bleeds, it leads is because negativity rules the day. So be very cautious when you hear people, like me even, talking about a recession. You have to dig down into the information. You have to know what it is. You have to constantly evaluate it. And it's not just make a decision today and it's going to last you until it's over. You're going to have to look at it day after day, week after week. So just when people talk about a recession, look at it yourself. Don't just assume that the talking head or the talking voice knows what they're saying.
No.
In my case.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. So that aside, continue.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, Sam Walton had a quote during one of the last recessions when he was asked about it. They said, "What do you think about a recession?" He responded, "I thought about it and decided not to participate." so yeah, that's a great quote, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that Walmart did in the 2000s when there was recessions, what they do is they promote their value brands, right?
Right.
So they might pivot their message to a degree, but they do have other brands that they're going to kind of promote and get it out there for people to take advantage of.
Right.
So, a couple other things that just to kind of bring home the point, even McDonald's, who as you know, they continue advertising kind of like Coca-Cola through and through. In the early 90s, there was a study that they actually dialed back. I think it was the 90 to 91 or 91 to 92 recession.
Right.
Where they dialed back, but Pizza Hut and Taco Bell dialed up their advertising, and their revenue grew. Pizza Hut by like 60%, Taco Bell something by 40%, and McDonald's, even with the big company it is, they actually decreased by 28%. So that was a big thing in the early 90s. But as we know, McDonald's is doing just fine, but that's just an example of how Taco Bell and Pizza Hut.
You made me think of something. When you're talking about the food wars almost, It reminded me of that scene in Demolition Man where the only restaurant left was Taco Bell, and that was the early 90s.
Oh, that's
funny. They had that marketing right into the Sylvester Stallone movie.
Yeah, so that was probably product placement. That's very, very cool.
Right, but it coincides with the same time where Taco Bell was pushing forward with their advertising while McDonald's was pulling back. So that's another message for you if you're a business owner, the people that wrote to us thinking about pulling back on some of their marketing. You can go, well, listen, look at all these other companies that push forward. The other thing you should be thinking about that market space territorially. It's yours now. But if you pull back, somebody else is going to step into the place you vacated and take it from you during a recession or a slow period of time. So, maybe that's the way you need to look at it as an entrepreneur and a business owner. It's not that you're looking at numbers and this cold hard facts and this and that, but if you give up that territory, somebody else may step in and you're going to have to fight to get it back.
100%. So that's one of the main things up front is you got to solidify your brand and your customer base, right? So you got to protect what's yours, right? And you got them. So that's another really good point that you make because sometimes a brand will get nervous, right, and change their marketing strategy. And what happens in that case is you might alienate your loyal customers because you're confusing them if you change the messaging. So Schreiner's phone's ringing. Yeah,
I'm doing a live video. And what is it? Spam risk. It's a spam call.
There it is. But so you don't want to change your marketing strategy.
Right.
And then have your loyal customers get confused by it.
Right.
So you want to keep it tight. So you're still talking to your customers and they understand that you're holding true. And really that also adds like a comfort factor during a downturn. Is if they see you kind of holding true to your marketing and your strategy, then you're still the familiar brand that they're used to, right?
Right.
There are cases like Anheuser-Busch what they did was Natural Pilsner was a brand that they brought in the 90s, which was a value brand, right? So they didn't change the marketing for their other brands, but they offered like a lower value brand
Right.
During the downturn, which actually helped their overall company.
Right, because you're giving people options on products, and maybe they're not going to go with their usual. They might try something else. Same thing you mentioned with, Walmart, how they would offer their great value, their other brands, so that people had choices. So your marketing still is going to be omnipresent, but you might shift the message slightly.
Yep.
But as long as your overall brand is solid, you can continue to push forward.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to make sure that, and that's part of what we can help with as well, making sure you are branding yourself appropriately to get the people that you want that will respond and need your product, your service, your business. So that has to be in place, and then we can figure out how best to target during a recession or any time of the year, any time of the decade.
Yeah. So to that point, the Harvard Business Review they put customers in like segments, right? So some of those there's 4 of them. There's like the slam on the brakes people,
Right.
right? So these guys, if there's a recession or a downturn, they're stopping spending, right? Except for the absolute essentials. Then you have the pain but patient. So these guys are they're not quite slam on the brakes, although they can get there quickly if things continue to go the wrong way.
Right.
But they're gonna wait it out a little bit, right? They're not going to spend right now. Then you have the comfortably well-off people. So these guys are the ones that are comfortable with their job. They might have a good savings built up. They're still going to kind of spend as they usually do, but they might tailor it a little bit, right? They're not going to go as lavish, or they might not buy something right now, but they're not really going to change their habits all that much.
Okay.
And then there's actually the Live for Today group, right? So these are the people that are not concerned about saving at all, right? So, but they really kind of spend their money on experiences rather than like products. So you got to understand, like when you get into the recession, like who all's out there and who are you marketing to? Like out of those groups, who are you marketing to? And what service are you offering, and what product are you offering?
And that'll change your message. Little nuances make all the difference. There's actually a production company called Nuance, and I think it's because of that. Those little things that you do that make all the difference. And marketing and your message is a part of that.
It is. So the products and services to that category is also falls in 4 groups too.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's the essential category. So that's like your food, shelter, clothing,
right?
Like things that people need.
Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah,
you got to eat.
Yeah. Then you have like what they call like treats, which would fall right under that category. So that would even like appliances and cars and consumer electronics and things like that fall into that. So people still feel like they're almost essential, but they don't quite. It's not quite essential, right?
Okay.
Then you have the postponables and then the expendables, right? So expendables is like, hey, we don't need to do it, right? We don't need to get our third car. We don't need to take that big vacation, right? That can get chopped off.
Right.
A postponable might be like, oh, you got to get your patio redone because there's cracks all over it, but it doesn't have to be done right now, right? So that's postponable.
Yeah, it's still usable. We can do that later.
Right.
Right. So those categories are important.
They're really important because, like, if you're like a repair company, for example,
right,
you can take advantage of somebody that might have appliances that are breaking down, that they've put that in the postponable bucket. They're not going to buy a new one, but they know they need it, so they have to repair it, right?
Right.
So if you're a repair company and now it's a downturn, you might want to fire up the marketing more than you ever have before because people aren't going to buy the new ones. A roof, they might not get a new roof, they might repair it. Pool companies, they might not get it resurfaced, they might keep patching it. You name it, you might want to put the throttle down and ramp up your marketing and take over some market share if you're like a repair type business.
I imagine you have entire categories of these things organized so that when your customers, the advertisers call, or who to reach out to go, hey, listen, we see an opportunity for you. You may want to look at this. Can we talk to you?
Yep.
You probably spend a lot of time trying to figure out where we can help Tampa Bay businesses grow.
Oh yeah, this is what we do every day.
Yeah.
This is our life. So, one of the things,
Yeah, can I just, to see people get excited when talking about like the tiny minutia details of business that just make my eyes glaze over. I'm programming. I'm the fun side of the business, but I see you guys just as excited on that side of the business. And it's wonderful to see that people find their niches and that you guys get so excited about being able to find a way to help Tampa Bay businesses grow, and to see that excitement in the people that they were successful is really great to see as a manager, to be able to look around and see those things happening. So you have a great staff. I just want to throw that in. You have a great staff that's very, very passionate about what they do on things that just make me lose it. So you've really collected an incredible team. Side note.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that. I mean, the thing is, like, what we do is we help people, right? And we help businesses. So when the business is making more money, their employees are making more money, it changes their lifestyle, right? So it's more than just like numbers and stories and figuring out even the right messaging. Because when you find out something that works for somebody and their business goes through the roof, that's like life-changing stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
It is life-changing.
For families and employees. And stuff.
And extending your marketing just a little bit, and maybe, doing some of the little slight adjustments we've talked about, like offering a value brand or something, could mean the difference between the death or the survival or the growth of your company. And we get a lot of joy out of helping our customers do that. So
yeah,
it's a great thing that we're doing, because it's all about growth in Tampa Bay. And when you save a business or help a business grow and they hire more people, and then they have to get another office, and then now they've got more people, and then you're talking families. It's not just some drone that shows up to work. It's a mother, it's a father who've got kids, and they're going to go home and be able to provide for them. And that's the beauty of the entrepreneurial spirit, and the number of businesses that we have here in this country are just amazing. So anything else to add on the do's and don'ts of marketing during a recession, Jay?
I mean, the last thing, which I think goes along with what you were just saying, is, so messaging, when one, it's, you want to stay the course, right? You don't want to dial back. If you have the opportunity to press forward and gain market share, please do that, because you'll be in a much better position later.
Right.
Because recessions typically are like a year long, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little bit more, but you'll come out stronger on the other end. And the messaging that you have, you might want to play into like the emotions, right, of the marketplace. You need to be empathetic in your messaging. Right. If you're going to do an offer, make it something that's easy, or like a cash back offer. That's not something like a rebate for later. Like, people need it easy and they want it now when they're on hard times.
Right.
So again, I pray that we don't go into like a full recession or anything like that. But people just need to be prepared whichever way it goes. And marketing is usually one of the first things that people have a knee-jerk reaction to kind of dial back. And it really shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be looked at as an optional thing. Right. It should be looked at as like a must scenario.
As an opportunity.
Right.
An opportunity to move forward and to protect your space and grow in case somebody else is backing off. It's an opportunity for you to take over new territory in the marketing landscape.
100%. All
right.
So
Jay,
that's it.
Thank you so much for joining us. Jay Mulligan, General Sales Manager here at Beasley Media Group. Love having you in every week. You're on vacation. You'll be back next week, or are you gone all next week?
No, I'm back. So we'll be back to Friday next week.
Excellent. Back to Friday next week. Today we did Thursday, 11:35. Usually you'll be able to catch the business roundup here at Money Talk 1010 with the executives and professionals here within our company. Every Friday we start the show with it about 11:05. We just did Thursday today. So thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you. We will be right back to continue the show. Jay will be back next week. Again, you can listen to us in Pinellas County on the FM dial as well, not just 1010 AM, but in Pinellas County at 103.1 FM, Hillsborough County 92.1 FM. If you have an HD radio, we stole it from our sister station, QIK. Go to 99.5 HD2. And then, of course, we stream through the apps at your app store and at moneytalk1010.com. We'll be right back. This is Tampa Bay Today, trying to get through the topics of the day without becoming angry or depressed. No bullying or name-calling here. We'll be right back.